And welcome to Real Chicks Rock Presents Real Discussions. I am your host, Michelle Dawes Birt, and as always, I am super excited to be with you here today. It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Like, the weather has just been the talk for Atlanta. It has been cold in December and January. We had some storms come through last night. It says 51, it feels colder, it's gonna get cold. We're just all over the place with the weather. So if you're in Atlanta, just bundle up, fasten your seat belts for the ride. It's going to be an interesting turn of events from a weather perspective. Lots of things are going on. We're not even going to get into some of the controversial things, political. We're going to leave that for you to read on your own time. But it is Black History Month. It is Black History Month. They cannot take that away from us. We're going to celebrate because we have done a lot of contributions and things in history, and it just cannot be erased, right? So however you want to spend Black history, continue to do so. Honor those that have gone before us to pave the way. I want to give thanks to all those that have gone before me, that have paved the way, that allowed me to do what I'm doing today, right? There was a time that we couldn't have hot mics, we couldn't have these type of discussions, but we are here, right? So today, first of all, I want to welcome all of my new guests. Thank you so much for checking us out, leaning in, spending a little time with us this afternoon. I want to welcome you. Let me just give you a little background about what Real Chicks Rock is all about. We're all about creatively collaborating to connect and raise awareness regarding issues that impact women. And we've been doing a lot of things in this space from a community service perspective, public speaking, mentoring, and we've been doing the arts, right? This platform. We've been having conversations with various different people since April of 2016. Long time. I'm really proud. I'm going to pat myself on the back. I'm patting myself on the back. We've been here doing it every first and third Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, just having the dialogue and the conversations. And today is no different. I am super excited because I think that me and my guests have been in similar circles, but never had the opportunity to officially meet. But I think we know the same people. Well, I want to shout out Craig Garrett, who said, "You need to have this brother on your show." And I said, I think you're right. So today my guest is Richard Dunn, and today's topic is all about community, commerce, the culture, and strategy. Richard, how are you, my brother?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Yes. First, let's just jump right in. Where are you from, Richard? Where are you from?
I am from Atlanta, Georgia.
Is that right? What part? North, south, east, west? What's happening? Southwest Atlanta?
From the west side, south.
Is that right?
Yeah. Kaya Heights, Hunter Hills.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, all that formerly known as Bankhead side? Like, what? Is that side of town?
Yeah, I've never not lived in between Simpson Road and Camilton Road.
Wow. Yeah. So that's how it's been. Yep. So you've seen the change. Like, there's a lot of change going on that side of town, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very different.
It's very different. It's very different. Tell me about Atlanta when you were younger. What was the feel for you back then?
To me, it felt like a big, small town.
I got you.
And I think there was, growing up in the 70s, we had the opportunity, and in hindsight, I think the blessings of being able to kind of live in that first couple of ripples, or ripple effect of civil rights movement. Mm-hmm. And so, my community was very different in the sense that, K through 12, all my classmates look like me.
Right.
All my teachers look like me.
Right.
All my administrators look like me. Mm-hmm. And, Black excellence was like a way of life. It was something that you would kind of knew you were going to do because you were surrounded by it, right? Wow. On all levels, right? Wow. So I went to school with kids who were, from lower income housing projects, Section 8. Mm-hmm. At the same time, kids of people who were national political figures.
Wow.
And we all went to school together.
Yeah.
So oftentimes I would tell people, I'm good from Bankhead to Buckhead.
I heard that.
Because it was all the same.
Yeah.
And because of segregation, civil rights, a generation or two before me, all Black folk lived on the same side of town, right? So you had the drug dealer who lived next door to the preacher, who lived next door to the teacher, who lived next door to the garbage man, right?
Yes.
And so my schooling was very similar to that.
Wow.
And that was amazing. So I think from just being able to experience that makes me very fluid in terms of what my community looks like and what my tribe looks like, and so I can flow.
Yeah, you flowing.
Yeah,
you flowing.
So
the relatability is right there. It's right there. That's interesting that you said that you knew you could succeed. You felt that energy as a young boy in Atlanta because of the diversity of economics, right?
Yeah.
In your space, right?
Yeah, I mean, I saw some people who were hustling.
Yes.
But they were making a lot of money and doing well in the community, right? But at the same time, so like, this is probably the best example I can give.
Okay.
Right? When I was in the 4th grade,
yes,
John Lewis III was in the 3rd grade.
Wow.
And this is Peyton Forest Atlanta Public Schools.
Yes.
Bo Young, that same year,
yes,
was in the 5th grade.
Wow.
Andrew Young at that point in time was a sitting mayor.
Man.
Right? And he would come pick him up in school from time to time in the squad car. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
So to aspire to be a politician, like, that made sense to me.
Right. You can see it.
Yeah, or to be in music, like, Tony Hightower is a good friend of mine.
Yes.
His mama has always been an amazing jazz vocalist, right?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that made sense to me.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Or, Mr. Williams, before he passed away, he owned a bunch of Wendy's.
Yes.
So to be an entrepreneur made sense to me.
You seen it. You saw it.
Right.
Wow.
So whatever field you in, understood you need to be successful. Or you could be, legal or not legal.
Yeah.
Right.
But your fabric is good. Your fabric was good.
Yeah.
So seeing all of that, Richard, what kind of sparked an interest for you? When do you think the light bulb went off for you to say, I want to pursue this? Or when did that happen for you?
I'm also blessed to just be born into a family of entrepreneurs, right?
Wow, yes.
And so my father has been in the media space my entire life, right? He's from D.C. but came to Athens to go to school, and he published newspapers. As a matter of fact, when he started in radio, he still is in radio, but this is wild to most folk. It's funny to me, right? So my father was on radio in Athens at WXAG with Simon, Joyce Littell.
Wow.
Kenny Diamond, Bill Clark.
Wow,
down
yes,
there too, right?
yes,
so,
yes.
when my parents split, so my father moved back to Athens, right? So that's where he was on radio. So, that every other weekend visit, I would go to the radio station.
Wow.
They would let me, that's when, Coast to Coast Top 20 would come in. It was on vinyl, and they let me play the vinyl and put in the commercial cartridge, and so I was producing a radio show and didn't even know it, but that was just fun, right?
How old were you when you were doing that? You remember?
Man,
were you 12?
10,
wow.
9, 10, yeah, like
still in elementary school.
Yeah, young buck.
Yes,
right?
Okay.
And then on my mother's side, my grandfather founded the Atlanta Inquirer and also the Atlanta Voice.
Yes.
And so always been around entrepreneurs, people who had entrepreneurial spirits, and educators. My mother is a retired principal. My grandmother taught 40 years in Atlanta Public Schools. So I kind of had to do my homework. It was it's kind of no getting around that part.
Yeah.
But I never pursued a job per se. Like, I always felt like I could build a career.
Okay.
I build a business.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
what a blessing.
Yeah.
What a blessing.
Absolutely.
So by you being exposed to that, was music the first thing that really kind of felt like a natural fit for you? Because it looks like you had different options. You could have been an educator. You could have been in music. You could have been in writing and journalism. You had different things. What?
So music was not a pursuit of mine at all, really.
Okay.
Music happened because after we were finished outside playing basketball in the driveway, the guys in the neighborhood were making music. Okay. And so,
what were the guys in the neighborhood, Richard? Go on and flex. Tell the people what were the guys? Drop a name or two for me.
So I think from from a neighborhood perspective, like everybody knows him as Polo the Dunn now, but Jamal Jones and just his family in particular, they were like the Jacksons. Like, before Polo became Polo, his little sister Riri had a record out first.
Yeah.
Then his older brother Naquay had a record with Universal, and and this is all years before Polo and Attic Crew and all that stuff, kind of the bubble, right?
Yes.
So we would play ball in the streets, and we would play ball in the driveway, basketball or whatever. And then at the end of that, when the street lights went down, we didn't go home. We just had to go inside. So we were always in Miss Johnson's basement, and they were making beats and they were making records. And so if the desk had been any bigger, maybe I would have become a producer too, right? Okay. But between Jamal and Mel Johnson, all these guys have gone on to win Grammys and sell platinum records.
Beautiful.
I became the neighborhood music critic. And one day I was like, well, what y'all gonna do with those records? And because I had come from an entrepreneur family, and I had a big mouth and a lot of opinion, they trusted me with their music in the beginning. And so I literally got in the music business just promoting my friends.
Yeah.
No rhyme or reason. It was just a continuation of us playing ball outside.
And when we say promote, is it getting them opportunities to perform? Is it contractual? How were you promoting your friends back then?
Initially, it was my social capital has always been good, right?
Yes.
I mean, I for whatever reason knew a lot of people, largely because of my family. If your mama's a teacher, everybody know her kids, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? And so on and so forth. And then my grandfather was who he was, and so people knew that. And and I kind of was, lived in dual neighborhoods at the same time. So at my house, which was in Hunter Hills, or at my grandmother's house in Lawrence Valley. So just had all these people that I just organically knew. So promotion in the beginning was just spreading the word. Hey, check this out. This is what they doing. Check this out. This is what they're doing. And then, all my play uncles were on the radio, right? And Joe Sattel used to change my diaper. So if we had records, it's not hard. And even my godmother, Anita Clark, was at A&M Records, and so it was not hard to say, hey, somebody listen to this noise we making in the basement. They would appease me.
Yes.
And it just so happened they were actually making really good records.
Wow. Yeah. You just had all the right people in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, my timing has been impeccable.
My God.
Life. Yeah, I'm blessed for that.
My God. So we're doing that. So records are being played. So then what's next for us, Richard, after that? Like, we're doing that. How long are we in that space?
We never really leave that space,
Yeah.
I don't think. But once the things kind of really took off for me, once we were like college age, and so we were looking for musicians to play on records, right? And so things really jumped because some guys I went to high school with, a guy named Al Thrash, who runs the music business department over at Georgia State, and another homie, Killer Mike, were at Morehouse, and so tapped into them and were like, yo, you know some musicians? And because this is before Jamal had gone to Morehouse. He was probably still at Thero. And they introduced me to this guy named Dana Johnson, who was in this band called Series B. And then, you do the normal music exchange. So I'm playing him records, he's playing me records. And Series B happened to be a band from a bunch of guys from Oakland. And Dana's roommate at Morehouse was this guy named Shakir Stewart.
Yes.
And Dana and them were backing, playing for, and / producing this guy named Donnie, this young lady by the name of India Reed.
Yes.
And in Series B was this guy named Cabral Simmons, who also had this spin-off band called Jiva. And so, we just vibing and we're getting to know each other, right? And now Dana's coming by the house, and he's bringing this young lady by the name of Denise. We used to call her. It was a Deja Rue back then. Now she's Avery Sunshine. You know what I mean?
Easy,
so just
easy,
all
easy.
these
Grammy just got she hot off the Grammy. Week, she hot off the Grammy.
Right. So just all this, just us being kids and being creative, and I think that I just knew the city, right? And I had access to media, and I think really just now in this conversation, and at this age, understand the magnitude of what that was. I was able to lend to their talent.
Wow.
But they were dope.
Yeah.
all of them. And so I just, I just fell in love with it, and the rest is kind of history, as they say.
There was an energy during that time, Richard. I'm not from Atlanta, but I've been here since '89. Right, I've been here a long time, and I've had the opportunity to talk to a couple of people. One person that I've talked to, all of my guests have been amazing. One person that I really enjoyed his stories was Jason Orr.
Yep.
Talked about how it was like you guys grew up together, right, at that time. And it was nothing to have a show, an event, it sell out. It was a vibe. And people just talked about it and still talk about it, right? That was old Atlanta. Do you think we'll get back to that space, or the younger musicians are doing what was done before? What are your thoughts about that, Richard?
I mean, so to Jason's point, we had all the intangibles, right?
Yes.
So again, a lot of dope musicians, and shout out to Freddie Luster and that crew.
Yes.
They had Yin Yang, right?
Yes.
So we had a space.
Yes.
And that's one thing that I think that always matters. Like, space matters when you're building community. And so for us, the Yin Yang was a space.
Yes, it was.
For us, thank God for Miss Johnson, but her basement was a space.
Yes.
Same thing for Miss Wade, God rest her soul. Her basement was a space, right? And so be no dungeon if it was not somebody's mama being okay with us making noise all night in her basement, because they all still had to get up and go to work.
Yeah.
And so for them to be able to sleep through that, look what it did for us personally, but for the city as a whole. So whenever I see these ladies, I always hug them and I thank them, because I was able to feed my kids for a long time off of that.
I think it's just good parenting too.
Yeah, but to answer your question specifically, I think every generation has their thing.
Yes.
And it looks different, right? They got their own vibe, they got their own style, they got their own music, right? What we was doing was not necessarily cool per se for our parents or our grandparents, but those of us whose parents were understanding and left us alone, now you see the results. And I think so. As a oddly enough, now as a professor, I am teaching at Georgia State, and as well as a program at Belmont up in Nashville. Beautiful. These kids' approach to music is just different, because they have technological tools that we didn't have. They have social media, right? Yeah. Like every record deal or every meeting I had to catch a flight to New York or LA and stand outside somebody's office and beat on the doors and beg for permission to get in the game. Yeah. They can DM somebody. You know what I mean? And so, but at the same time, they can finish a record in the closet and release it the next day, right? Like, we had to get distribution deals and so on and so forth. So I just think that their community and their approach is very different. I think a lot of their community is on the phone, and in some ways that's great. In some ways they do operate, to me, in a disadvantage. But it's their season, so I just use my platform to help. And stay out the way.
Okay. Yeah. So you're not a guy that feels like, you're not unsupportive. You're supporting this generational gap, because we got to bridge it, right? We have
to. But again, Miss Johnson supported me.
Yeah. I hear you.
Right.
I hear you.
She was a school teacher. Miss Johnson had to be at work at 7:30 in the morning. And now they didn't know that. She was a principal at Turner Middle School. So she probably had to be at work at 6.
Yeah, she had huge responsibility.
Right.
Yeah.
We up under her bedroom making noise. I know, to 3, 4, 5 in the morning. Right? Like, so when you narrow it down to that,
yes.
How can I not be supportive?
I feel you. Yeah.
Right?
I feel you.
Right? She had a real job. As a single mother. Right? And she let us stay up all night, and whatever we want to do in that basement and in her backyard, she act like she didn't see it, and I'm going to leave it at that.
I got you.
Right?
You said a lot right there. You said a lot right there.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
But I think it's safety. Kudos to her, because again, she was probably thinking, I'd rather have you guys here than to be somewhere else, and then I got to get that phone call.
Right.
At least here at my house, you're safe in my house, and nobody's going to bother you, and you know how far you can go with whatever you're going to do, right? So that's what it is. And she could feel the vibrations and know you guys were trying to do something, trying to make something happen.
And that's my point, right? And I wasn't her child.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so for my mom and my grandmom to be okay for me to be at Miss Johnson's house. That's correct. And everybody else's mom and grandmom to be okay that we was at Miss Johnson's house, that says a lot.
That says a lot. Richard, when you hear the word community, and I hear you say it often, even in just our conversation now, what does that mean to you? What does community mean to you?
I think community means a lot of things, and that's a layered answer.
Yeah, okay.
Right? But I think everybody's tribal.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Like it or not, Donald Trump showing us his community.
You got that right.
Right?
You got that right, yeah.
And I'm not political per se, but I can tell you, everybody who's listening, what his community isn't.
Yeah.
It ain't racist.
Okay.
Right? He's a true capitalist. The color he's seen is green.
Gotcha.
And the reason I say that is because he's got entrepreneurs behind him, and they all billionaires.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it ain't a race thing that he doing. He about to widen the wealth gap.
It's about money.
It's capitalism at its best.
At its best, yeah.
Right? And so that's his community, right? I think communities can change based off the season, the generation, where you are personally in life.
Yes.
And where you are geographically, right? And because of technology and the world is so small, the whole world is in your phone, you can have multiple communities at one time.
And it be nobody's business. How about
but
that?
Yours. You can live
How about that?
You can live
How
as many
about that?
public lives and secret
Word
lives
up.
as you want
Yeah.
to. And it could all be real and it could all be fake.
Yes.
Because if you're going to judge me based off the pictures I post, man,
yeah,
it's a cheat code to that. Right? I got partners with them cars. I could go take pictures and flex. So
yeah.
But to that point, like I think community is what you make it. And it's not as restrictive as it was when I was giving that example based off what people had to go through the 40s, 50s, and 60s, right? Because they were forced in those communities, right? Talking about redlining. It was against the law for black people to live on certain sides of town. And they steered people where they could only own and buy in certain neighborhoods.
Correct.
So all these things. So it was forced. It was forced. So community now, again, could mean whatever's important to you, whatever you want to give back, whatever selfishly is going to sustain you and yours. And all these different things can become community. Your job can be community. Your church can be a different community. What you like to do socially can be a community. What you like to do after the dark, you want nobody else see you do. Right. That is also a community.
Right.
So these are all quote unquote safe spaces, hopefully for you, and safe environments amongst people that you have these things in common with.
And so, Richard, how do you want to see, or what is your vision for community and the culture? Do you see it still being hand in hand? How does that look in 2025 for you?
I hope it looks different than what it looked like
when you started.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I think that the community that I'm most known for, which is like that soul community.
Yes.
I can tell you that without a shadow of doubt, we wanted to change the world with music.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I know for a fact Indian, Anthony David, PJ Morton, all these guys wanted to use their music for revolutionary purposes. Right? But we were in the business when you had to deal with gatekeepers. Right? Yeah. And we were also coming up at the wrong time. Right? So coming up, we was about to save R&B.
Yeah.
And then rap took off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I love hip hop.
Yeah.
But what if the community that Puffy built was not about being ghetto fabulous, right? But we liked that, right?
Yeah.
It made us feel good and we had pride, right? So we wanted to be flashy and we wanted to dance and it gave us some joy. But a lot of us in my age group, if we could go back and all that money we spent on buying sections and bottles
Come on,
and
sir.
making it rain.
Come on, sir.
Man, if just a little bit of that had gone into real estate,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
What if Puffy moved like John Hope, Bryant? You know what I mean?
That guy, yeah.
Versus, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But he ain't know no better either.
Yeah, he didn't know.
Right? And not only that, he thought he was. I mean, I'm not knocking him, right? Regardless of the stuff that's going on,
right,
now,
right.
the rest of that stuff, we all made some money off of that.
Yeah,
He showed us.
he did
cool
move the
stuff.
needle. He moved the needle,
right?
He did.
Him,
he
Russell
did.
Simmons, all those guys. So
He moved the needle.
I just hope that community is a little bit more well-rounded. It takes into consideration that at some point we're gonna be parents, and grandparents, and that we are leaving this world better
than we found it.
Yeah,
I think it is, Richard. Like, I think what's in our vocabulary these days, based on the people of John Hope Bryant's, it's a legacy.
Yeah.
Right, leaving something for our kids, our grandkids to have, so they don't have to start at zero.
Yep.
Right, because not for nothing. We may have come up in communities that had love and support, but there may not have been a lot of resources in that community. I'm talking about tangible capital or money or property that we could take and build. So we may have seen hardworking people, but they didn't really know how to build and project it forward, right? They just worked 25, 30 years, got a watch, got retirement, that was it. They didn't really have enough to leave for us, right? Some of us going to college, we had to figure that out, right? Some of our parents didn't even go. Some of them barely got through high school. We're just keeping it a buck. So here it is now, because we know better, there is an expectation for us to do better. That's just our conscience inside of us. Like, listen, I want to break some of these cycles that I've seen, and they may not have been all bad. It was just how we handled money. You know?
Yeah. And I want to say this one thing, because
Go ahead.
I've done business with the brother, right?
Yeah.
And again, I am not defending him.
No.
He did what he did.
Yeah.
I'll leave that at that. Whatever they do with him now, that's
we talking about the business piece. Yeah, go on.
I would like to also say,
Yes.
to that point, when he started to give his artists their publishing back, that's when he got in trouble.
Really? How so?
His timing is everything.
Yeah.
So at a point he did mature, and so you asked me earlier about intellectual property, right? So the point that he started to say, hey man, let me get these people their publishing back, because that's where the residual income is. That's where the legacy is. That's where the wealth is built off the intellectual property. These songs they made. He started to release it and give it back, right? And so we also came up in the time in the business where somebody give you a deal, they owned everything, right?
Everything,
right? And it's a choice to give it back. So he did start to give it back.
Okay.
Right? But when you go back and you look at some of the greats, your Isaac Hayeses and your George Clintons and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
A lot of these people didn't own their.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all they could, and that's why they performed so much, because it was really the only way they could make money off of it. They didn't control it.
I got you.
You know what I mean? So now these deals are a whole lot better. People are a whole lot smarter. So yeah, I hope that the next generation does better business than we did and had to do.
Yeah.
To get in the game and make it, fair.
And should you own it? Because, Richard, I'm on the fence and just trying to understand it, because somebody like Ray Charles, he owned his from the beginning, his masters, right? And I think Michael Jackson had owned his and acquired the Beatles, right? So he was really smart and strategic in doing that. Some people get them and sell them for like how many millions of dollars. Is there really a right or wrong, or what? I guess it's just individual preference.
It is absolutely individual preference, right? Because one thing I have learned outside of music and just being an entrepreneur, the guys that I have been mentored by that don't look like me, in the business space, they build businesses to sell them.
I got you. Okay.
They acquire businesses, they fix them, they scale them, and then they
sell them. Okay.
Right? Our community will hold on to a business and a title until we run that in the ground and ain't got no value sometimes, right? We don't understand succession planning. We don't leave it. We don't put the proper documentation in place for the next generation to pick it up. Not only that, we don't allow the next generation to participate creatively in scaling the business when they're old enough to do it. Right? And so a lot of times people that look like us will run the second generation out of the business.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
You know what I mean? So all these things, I mean, you know, so you got to be mindful of that as well, right?
Yeah.
Like we've got so much to learn when it comes to entrepreneurship and capitalism and what that looks like as a community, as Black people.
Yeah.
And again, you know, we started late, so we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. And so now having this conversation with you, Richard, very enlightening, because there was a time, talking about merch, right? Clothing, the fat farms, the cross colors, the Caracanais, really big for us in our culture in the 90s. And then people got mad when they sold it, right? Was the timing wrong? Shouldn't they have not done it? But I guess it was the right thing to do at that time, because maybe they didn't have succession planning, right? Well, and saw a shift in the culture.
It could have been that, but you know, if we're not looking at the P&L, we don't know.
You know,
right?
I'm gonna drop this mic right now.
You know what I mean? As a promoter, as a promoter, I can have 100,000 people in the venue and be losing money, and everybody thinking I'm making it like Christmas money.
Yeah,
it can all look sexy, and you could still be losing. Right?
Yes.
So until you got a hold of the P&L statement, mind your business. Period. Right? Because
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've had those moments where it looked real cool, and that might have been on Friday and on Monday. I'm at the bank trying to get a second mortgage.
Trying to make
it, because I done lost everything.
Trying to make it make sense.
Right.
And talk to me about that, because you talk about how ticket sales are important, right? Ticket sales is the way that revenue is generated that actually gets to the artist. And as a consumer, we're like, the service fees are high, like the prices of tickets have gone up, like everything has changed. We came out of COVID, it's just different. You know what I mean? You can't go nowhere and see nobody under $100. That's done.
Yeah.
And just getting in the building might cost you $150. Yeah. And you ain't nowhere near the stage. You're looking at the Jumbotron to see what they really actually singing. Right. So things are different. So how do we how do we calibrate with this new mantra that's going on now with sales and revenue and things like that? Because you're right. Because we see it sold out. We do quick math. We're thinking everybody involved in this is making money, but that's not always the case.
No, it's not the case. And if you're an independent promoter, all you have to go off is the ticket sales, right? If you don't own the house, meaning you're not engaged in the food and beverage and all the other ancillary parking that could go along with venue ownership, your margins are very slim. I don't quote me on this, but this part I do know for sure. Like Live Nation, for as big as they are, you know, profit for them can be less than 10% of the gross revenue sometimes. Like, they not making the kind of money that people think they are off tickets. Okay. Like, the margins are slim to none on just about anything. And so what people, I think is like people, because entertainment is like, you're supposed to do this to please me, they forget it's a business.
Yes.
Your cars you can't get a decent car for less than $50,000 now.
You can't.
Right? And the cost to build a new home versus even buy one. Like, so even if you understand real estate,
yes,
and you understand what the cost for windows and lumber and all that stuff is, like everything is different. Everything is expensive.
Very high.
Right? And so, but we get beat up because you got some kind of admiration because you like my records.
Yeah.
I had a family too. But I didn't make you know what I mean?
Yeah, so where's the money going? Because again, we're thinking we come in, we pay X to get in here, and it has to be divvied up against so many people. Yeah. Is that what the issue is?
I mean, part of it is that, but it's just the everybody's cost has gone up.
I got you. Okay.
The light tech, his price went up. The sound man's price went up.
I got you.
Gasoline went up.
Yeah.
Right? So if I'm going from one city to another, all of that is part of that ticket price.
I got you.
Right. The rent of the venue went up.
Everything's going up.
Went up. Right.
Except our salaries.
Except our salaries.
As a consumer.
Right.
Yeah.
But we buy what we want.
You're right.
Right.
And when we want it, yeah. Because I hear people talking about, getting their tickets already for Beyonce because, she's coming out with Cowboy Carter. Yeah. Some are like, nah, I just broke off last year. I can't do it this year. The prices is too high. And some are like, no, I'm in the building.
Right, but you know what I mean? But even that, right? You're going to buy a ticket and you're going to buy an outfit because that's what y'all do when y'all go see Beyonce in the Beehive.
I'm not in the Beehive.
Right. The outfit to the show is just as much as the show.
This show. I'm not in the Beehive, so y'all go ahead with that.
Right. But then the other thing, too, is where, technology helps and hurt us, right?
Yes.
I can sit at home and watch enough live feeds to understand the experience and not go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
You're right.
So we ain't had these damn phones and more people would come outside.
Yes. Well, some shows are getting a little smarter, I guess, where you lock it up in your phone, that type of thing. Because I've had the opportunity to go check out Robert Glassberg out there in Napa Valley, which is beautiful, right? When he does it for 3 days, that little festival. And as you get closer to the stage, he's got security right there. You got to lock up your phone. Yep. So the people that are right there in front of the artists, they're getting that's that community. They are connecting and nobody's holding a digital device in front of them. So whatever you get from that, it's in the back. The quality ain't the same if you videotaping, but then there's a connection, right? And there's authenticity and there's that vibe and people are singing and getting along. Same thing with Tony when they came to town. Took everybody's phone. People was like, it was one of the best shows they've ever experienced.
Yeah, but you had to be there. If not, you just heard about it. But even pulling that off can be an issue.
Yes, sir.
Because we're also very entitled.
Yeah.
So I spent $100 to get here. You mean I can't flex for my friends that I was here today?
Yes. It's my phone. I need my phone for emergency and all that.
That's a lie. They need they need proof. What they call it, proof of life. They need proof of actually here.
Yeah. I think the best you can do is stand up under the venue sign, maybe show your ticket, but that's about it. But we want you to be present for the show, so that's what it is.
We need to learn how to be present in general, man.
Yes.
You see families out to eat and everybody on the phone, so nobody's having conversations. So all of that's a problem. These phones are a blessing and a curse sometimes.
What about the commerce piece, Richard? How can we improve upon that? We do have these phones. They're smart, right? Everything is online. E-commerce is the thing. Everybody buys everything through Amazon. People getting their groceries delivered. How can we improve or get more engaged in that component?
We just got to stop being consumers only. And that's with everything.
Yes, everything.
Right? And we also have to learn how to be patient in our personal and professional development and product development.
Yeah.
Everything that catch quickly and nobody's really an overnight success story. A lot of people fail their way to success. Right? And I think your ability to pivot and do other things will get you where you want to be. Amazon started off selling books, and now he sells everything. Right? But what if he tried to sell everything in the beginning? We would have thought he was crazy.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's some strategical rationale to how he got to where he was. And don't think that he thought of all of that.
Right.
Sometimes the market will tell you if you go in the right direction or not. And sometimes mistakes turn into blessings. But you have to. Entrepreneur is not for the weak. It ain't for everybody. It's not. And people want that lifestyle and want to say they the boss, but you got to be able to go through the fire and make that happen. I was watching a documentary before I got here, and they were talking about the brother who started the Chicago Defender, and how important that newspaper was in the beginning. But they also talked about how, he wouldn't eat for days just to make sure the paper got out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So entrepreneurship is a struggle.
Yes, it is.
Most times than not.
Yeah, it is.
But if you can figure it out and learn how to manage your cash flow and separate your business revenue from your personal expenses, because that's the other thing. When you commingling funds and you don't really know what you have. Yeah. Everything has to be categorized and sit in its own space and place for you to know if it can sustain itself or not. So it's so much to just understand the business. And systems and processes are key and essential in this thing. It's one thing to own a business versus owning a job, right? So if you got to do all the work, you just bought yourself a job.
Yeah.
Business is something that you should be able to look at from a high level, look down upon it in the sense of, I can see all the moving pieces and I know where to make adjustments. I know where to staff accordingly. I know where to train. I know where to pull back. But if you're in it, you can't see all of that. And so
and don't you have to be in it initially though, Richard?
No.
Okay.
No. You never have to be in it.
Okay.
You got to be aware.
Okay.
And I think that's the mistake that we all kind of make sometimes.
Yeah, we
right?
do.
Like if you look at the success rate of franchises, like in it in a sense of knowing, you have to know your numbers and you have to know how your business is flowing.
Right. Yeah.
That's part of ownership.
Yes.
That's in it enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But just because I open up a restaurant don't mean I need to be in the kitchen.
I got you.
Right.
Okay.
Because that's different.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
People have to learn how to delegate and teach skills to the team so they it's not even about you not having to do the work or being lazy. It's so that you can grow the business.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if you're cooking and washing the dishes and all of that, you're going to be stuck. You're only going to have one location.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you got systems and processes in place, it's easier to manage paper than it is people. you can and then you can see where the mistakes are made. You know how to correct, you know how to train, and you know how to duplicate at that point. Right? Ray Kroc ain't made not one cheeseburger.
You know what? I'm gonna cut these mics off right now.
Right?
Not one.
Not one.
And it's over a billion or zillion, trillion sold or whatever.
Not only that, he didn't even invent it.
Yeah.
He ain't even McDonald's.
Yeah.
Right? That's entrepreneurship.
Wow. That's
business ownership. And I think we neglect to understand the two, right? But there's nothing wrong with having a trade that you enjoy and you can make money off of, right? I think as long as you get up every day and you doing what you want to do, then that's okay, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But if I'm a stylist and the day my back hurt, my feet hurt, my hands hurt, I can't fix no head.
You can't do it.
Right.
You can't do it.
I'm not gonna make no money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if I like hair care products or that industry, I do better opening up a shop and providing spaces and places for people who actually can execute the service. That's ownership.
That's ownership. That's ownership. Richard, should we really be consumed or concerned about selling to a black community, like, because there's so much pressure in supporting black businesses? Do we need to have that as a model? Just put it out there and the people will come, right? How should we move in that regard?
I mean, I think it's important that we learn how to support each other, but support with grace.
Okay.
Right? I'm not saying that we should give everybody a pass.
Understood.
But, the day you go to a black spot and they do you wrong or it ain't good that day, we crucify them. You know what I mean? We don't give them a chance to grow through it.
Yeah.
And I think we all just assume because we own the business or they started the business, they're supposed to have it all figured out.
Yeah, and they don't.
And most don't have it figured out because they didn't think about it the way I'm saying. Because most people get in it, like they in it, versus owning, and it's such a fine line. It's a funky conversation to have, but because again, we take business very personal.
Yeah, we do.
Right.
We do.
And I'm telling you, I know people who don't look like us, and they playing real life Monopoly.
And I guess because, again, is it because they have access to resources a little bit more than we do? Because when we get it, first of all, it's a challenge for us to get what we got in most cases.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to take the risk, right, in order to grow the business. They're doing that, but it seems like, hey, I could do it again. But for us, is that the narrative for us?
I don't know. Like, what I'm not. So here's the thing, right? Everybody measures success different, right?
Okay, all right.
So I got a good buddy of mine who's a personal injury attorney.
Okay.
And he's like, Rick, I am smart. I know this stuff better than most.
Okay.
But if I don't drive a car that costs more than $100,000, black folk won't hire me.
Wow.
White man can pull up in a Honda
and be good.
Mm-hmm. So I think that we have to change what we think success is supposed to look like.
Got you.
It ain't your car, it ain't your bag.
Got you.
It ain't your suit that day.
Got you.
It is really what's in the brain.
There you go.
Which is kind of what I was saying about we'd rather be the CEO of nothing than like a little of a lot is better than a lot of nothing.
I know that's
right. And then there are more people who are CEOs of a lot of nothing.
Yes.
Versus on a team that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So we get it all misconstrued.
Yes.
Because ownership in a lot of spaces is about status.
Yes.
In our community, black folk, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That crab in the bucket thing, or we gotta sit up high so we can look down, whatever that is, right? And all I'm saying is that all of that is just fundamentally wrong. I am not saying that other people don't have relationships and resources, because they do. Mm-hmm. But because it's so transactional and not about status,
yes,
they don't care who's in the position.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if you go back and look at the story of Netflix, they swapped the co-founders swapped out CEOs a few times, right? Because he was just running the business wrong.
Right.
But guess what? He didn't lose no stake in the business. When they cashed out, he cashed out. We'll destroy the business because I got to stay in charge.
Yeah.
No, you in the way.
Yeah.
We don't know how to take that pill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes, ego and pride and everything else.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you look at business like you would look at the NBA, I would rather LeBron with a broke leg sit down than just be on the floor because he LeBron. He got crutches. He can't dribble. He can't shoot, but he's still in charge. You in the way.
You in the way.
Sit your ass down.
Yeah.
So we can play ball, right?
And they got no problem trading folks.
Right.
It's like,
Right. So I think, you take the personal out of it.
Yeah.
It's just business transaction.
I know. It's just hard for us because
and it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
And if the math ain't mathing, it ain't working.
How can we change our mindset though? What do we need to start taking in more of to change how we look at business?
Look at how they playing ball, right?
Yeah.
And it's some of it ain't cool, but you never get wealthy not being an investor.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, I think these are some of the things that we are finally able to kind of see firsthand. This is where like YouTube University is amazing. You know what I mean? But, working a 9 to 5 and, retiring with a 401k, you still might be at Walmart after you retire, right? Because you might not have enough. So what are we doing with our money so that it's working for us?
Yes.
And growing, right? All those different things that I just think that I feel like, on the backside of this new administration, that we all kind of more of us realize that in it, because it's gonna make us shift.
We shifting already.
Yeah,
shifting already.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, in football they say, sometimes you get smacked in the face.
Yeah.
I think this is a good smack.
Yeah.
Right. And so how do we recover?
Yeah.
Right. Which is kind of what I was saying earlier, like start whining about that racism.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I think the worst part about being black, our ancestors did that. We ain't never gonna be slaves again. We might be dirt poor again if we don't play the game right.
Gotta play the game.
But we ain't never gonna be slaves. So that was the worst part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I'm with you.
Right. So how do we, one, stabilize ourselves and then grow?
Yes.
That is where everybody need to be.
I agree. That's what I was
Right.
saying before.
And so the only way you stabilize and grow is to think green, because that's what they thinking. Because they screwing up poor white folk just like us.
Yeah. It's about money.
It's about money.
It's about money.
So that's what we need to get on.
I know. I agree. You got no argument out of me on that. That's what I It's about that. I want to ask you one other thing about. I want to go back to the music. You are a wealth of information. You know that, right? Do you know that?
I don't know that, but thank you.
You are a wealth of information. You are definitely a rich man. I'm sitting here talking to a rich man because you have insight, and I appreciate that. Musically, the genres, in your opinion, what genre makes the most money musically?
Black music wise?
Any music. Is it hip hop? Is it country? Is it R&B? Is it pop? What is it? What's happening? What's going on?
I think, statistics will probably say it's still gearing closer to hip hop.
Really?
Because of the impact, right? Rap music got us wearing Adidas, and you know what I'm saying. So right, rap music got us buying certain liquor brands.
Yeah,
rap music has us doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we're always helping people make money.
Yeah. So, and so I would tend to lead that.
Okay.
Hip hop travels well internationally, right? I've been in foreign countries and snuck off the resort and went to go hang with the locals, and they listening to Gucci Man. You know what I'm saying? But nobody speak English but me.
But they know that.
But the guys in the kitchen
that's right.
are listening to Gucci. So, I would, if I had to make an educated guess, I would kind of say that.
How does that make you feel, being that you're from Atlanta, and at the top of our conversation, you had the opportunity to go to school with some of these people, just create music with people, seeing things just bubbling up, and here it is, 20, 30, 40 years later, hip-hop is still a thing. How does that make you feel? You feel like you're proud, you had something to do with it?
I guess I'm slow to answer because I never thought about that, how
All
it made me feel,
they
right?
say I ask good questions.
Yeah, that was a good one because I never took it personally.
Yeah.
But I think it's amazing, right? I think it's great to be able to sit back and say, I was part of something firsthand. I can articulate it from the beginning.
Right.
In my own little way. You know what I mean? From Binky, who lived down the street from me, was the DJ at Jelly Beans, and going to his house and listening to that, and my mama finding my first Too Short tape that I had bought from Turtles, and
Turtles, right? You don't hear that name anymore. Turtles, come on.
You know what I mean? To where I am now in terms of being a college professor and teaching, and as a matter of fact, one of my students is Dre TL, who just won this season 2 Rhythm and Flow. And so I guess now that I'm trying to find that answer and I'm talking or speaking my thoughts, it's kind of cool, right?
It's kind of cool, right?
And I just, and like it's even cooler than that, right? And then for Mike to win, Killer Mike, to win those Grammys.
Yes.
At our age, because we're the same age. We graduated together from Doug High. So shout out to the Astros who are listening. That means that we can do this for a long time, right? Because that is something that we have not allowed our artists to do, right? Mick Jagger gonna do Rolling Stones in a wheelchair, and ain't nobody gonna be mad. You know what I mean? And Frankie stopped, God rest his soul. Yes. Frankie stopped singing us 20 years ago, and nobody got mad at Frankie.
No.
He would stick the mic out, and we would sing all them songs back to him.
We just wanted to see him in the white.
We just wanted to see him in that hat, be cool, old Frankie. You know, so if MCs can continue to do that, that's a good thing. So I'm wondering, how long guys gonna go?
If we're gonna go, we're gonna go. Now our drivers might be different. right?
Might be. Yeah.
Because some of us may have to do because we didn't really set ourselves up to stop. So we're doing it for financial reasons, right? Some of us are doing it for the passion, just for the mere love of it. Right. Or we can't be stopped. Or we got something to say.
Yeah.
The South still got something to say, right?
Still got something to say.
Right.
So it's going to be a combination of all of that. But I answered not from a music professional perspective. Yeah. You can't be in this business and not be a fan. So I'm answering from Richard Dunn buying a ticket perspective. Who do I want to see in 20 years rap to me? You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
Right? And so, will I be able to see Outkast in 15 years? If so, that would be freaking amazing.
Amazing.
Right? Regardless of what the presentation looks like.
Yeah.
Right? Just the fact that they up there. So, I'm a fan first. So I always look at that lens.
Good stuff. What's next for you, Richard? What's on the, you tooted your horn a couple times, you're a professional. Congratulations. You're teaching the people. Yeah. What else is on the horizon for you? Because I see you're invited to panel conversations, discussions. You've done a TED Talk or two here or there. You got something to say. People honor you and respect your thought process. I'm telling you that. Craig Garrett said, Michelle, you need to have a conversation with Richard Dunn. He's one of those guys. You are looked at as one of those guys here in Atlanta. You saw it from the beginning. You're still engaged, involved in it. You have a desire and a passion to make sure it still evolves and it doesn't sit on the shelf. You want to share the information. You're setting up other people to win and be successful. What's next for you? Is there a book in you? What's going on? What's happening?
What? Feel seen.
What's happening, Richard? What's next?
We are all guilty of getting in our own way.
Yeah.
And so, what's next is probably what I have intentionally avoided, because I have always been the guy to help those who are forward facing.
Okay.
And I don't think there's nobody else to help but me. So at some point I probably do need to become forward facing.
You do.
And probably do need to write a book, and probably do need to start a podcast.
You do.
Probably need to do all the things that I tell other people that they should do for themselves.
Right.
But I am I'm excited about being academia, right?
Yeah.
So because of doing what I'm doing now, it has forced me or inspired me to finish school. So a lot of people don't know this, but we got to making music money very early. So I dropped out of college.
Okay.
It never went back. So
Okay.
I actually will graduate from Morehouse in May of this year.
Congratulations.
Full-time. Morehouse, man, actually singing with my son.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And applying to grad school. So I could see Professor Dunn being the thing. I kind of like that. I enjoy giving back, to your point, but I learned so much from these kids. It's crazy. And so in order to excel in that space, a book or two or a few is going to be needed and necessary, and writing in some journals, and so I see academic in my space. And building more businesses. I just don't want to be in them. I think that Atlanta has space for a couple of cool venues that don't exist in this market.
That's good.
So I've been praying and meditating on that.
Yeah.
Actually went to look at some stuff recently. And so, maybe another venue would be cool. And, and it's some media ideas as well.
Good for you.
Yeah. So,
Good for you. Yeah. What's your thoughts on media? We didn't really talk about that. What's your thoughts on media? How it was when your father, was in radio versus it is where it is today. Yep. This whole digital platform versus how your dad was doing it. What's your thoughts on that?
The digital thing is amazing. It's no limits, right?
Yeah.
You can do a whole lot. I think the only downfall to it is like it's consumed so fast. You know what I mean? Like this interview is old as soon as I get out this chair.
But it'll be around forever.
It will,
and accessible to.
Yeah. True, right? So,
a
but
vast
at
amount
that
of
point,
people.
somebody gonna find it, right?
Yes, absolutely.
But at the same time, you think about that, right? Thursday night at 8:00 when we was growing up, what was coming on?
Cosby.
Did you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. That's very different.
Cosby, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Versus now, I'm just scrolling on YouTube and I might find a little chunky bald head guy talking about something, right? So,
I understand.
right.
Yeah.
So I think those are the things that are very different, right? Versus like we were anticipating looking to see something. If I want to waste a weekend, I done watched the whole season or something. On one of these streaming platforms. So just understanding how to produce at a quality but accelerated rate.
Yes.
So you can keep up with consumption, I think is going to be one of the challenges in media. But this is it.
This is it.
Right. I think all forms of entertainment kind of melt down into something that looks like digital media. And so that is one of the things I stress to my students and I teach a touring and concert management class, but you got to get in the media space.
Yeah.
It's no avoiding that. And it's almost like you got to have a podcast to even be validated. Like the goalpost is always changing, the end zone is changing, right?
It is.
So at one point in time, to have a blue check on Instagram was the thing, right?
Yeah.
Now if you ain't got a podcast or no real reels with you intelligently speaking upon what you say you do, there's no way to validate you now, right? Because the website is insufficient at this point, right? So all these things have just changed. So digital media is where it's at. So kudos to you for being able to sustain, because that's what I do see. People get going in this space and they're good for a month or two.
And they fall off.
Man.
Yeah. It's a passionate thing, Richard, and it's about community, right?
Yeah.
Community means a little different to me, but I think it has the same essence. I think that Atlanta has so many great stories to tell, and you get on a regular radio, you got maybe 8 minutes to tell your story. That's not enough time. I really wanted to create a space where people could come and tell their stories, and it could stay with us forever.
Gotcha.
So even while I'm gone, somebody can find this conversation and learn a little bit more about you, right? And so that's really what it is. And I think in the digital space, it's consistency. That's really all you have. So people know to look for what they want at a particular time, every time. It's the same thing. It's like a virtual TV guide if you're consistent about it. So they'll find it. And then you get the little check mark and subscribe. So you get the notification. So even if you wasn't in pocket to really watch it when it first came out, it'll remind you. So again, it's playing with the algorithms and learning how to play with it's a little different, but I still have a love for old school radio. There's something about that hot mic on air sign. The fact that every car, I don't care what it is, it's going to have radio in there.
Have some component.
You got to pay for satellite, for Sirius XM. You got to pay for that, but you're going to have an AM, but definitely FM in there. So you got a standard no matter what you drive, right? And so I honor that, because people like your dad and other people created the space where people could tune in and listen. And so, I know we are digital. It feels very it feels very tight, because if somebody has something to say, all of a sudden they're a subject matter expert on it, or they have the ability to voice their opinion on it without any fact checking or whatever. It's just, but I'm looking at it as people just having conversations, right? And that's really what we're doing.
Well, again, just kudos to you for having the passion, and more importantly, like the discipline to do that. So like this is my first time experiencing you and your show, but one, this is amazing, but two, like I know what this takes, right? You got to do this. The first and third Sunday?
I'm here.
Your whole life is centered around this, right? And if you got to go out of town, like I remember my father having to pre-record just so he don't miss his slots, all those things. So I just wanted to
thank you.
Give you your flowers for having the discipline and the follow through to just do this. This ain't easy.
It's not easy.
It look cool.
It look cool, look real sweet, cool, but it's not easy. But it's a passion, and you don't have to be weekly. Some people once a month, whenever it hits you, just come on out here and talk to the people, man, because you got something to say. You part of Atlanta. You ATL.
I'll tell you what. When I decide to do it, I'm gonna do you. I'm
Yes.
gonna make Craig call you and be like, you gotta go do Rick's show.
I would love to be a guest and be in your space, because again, I think you are a wonderful individual. Just the intellect alone, you have so much to say and share. And I continue. Congratulations and all that you do. How long you been teaching? Let me ask you that before you.
Oh, so that's a very new thing. Again, just my homie from the neighborhood, Al Thrash, was like, hey man, we got this touring and concert management class that we need to add to the curriculum.
Wow.
Can you come over here and teach it? And I was like, bruh. So, but to answer your question, last January.
That's new.
I told, yeah, it's brand new.
It's a year.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
And why did your friends say, why did they feel that they needed this particular course?
Well, because of the importance of touring and concert, right? We don't pay for music anymore, right? So you are going to pay, or do like I do, you're going to pay Spotify, Apple Music every month, regardless of who put a record out, because that's our new record collection.
Yeah.
So it is important for those in the music business to understand how to tour and manage concerts properly, because that is where consumer puts their money in their pocket directly. And so if you don't understand that ecosystem and how to do that profitably,
Yes.
and you're gonna really have a tough career, because these streams, they're not as lucrative as selling records were. Not at all. The money is night and day.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it about the matter of downloads in order to get the money, or how many times it's actually streamed?
Yeah, they making pennies on the.
It's like no money.
It's no money.
So they got a tour.
They got to tour, or they got to learn how to maximize their brand and their image, so that if they're not touring, then they've got brand deals, they've got clothing lines, they got all the things Beyonce's doing.
Wow.
Right, to eat properly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So records are getting millions and billions of streams, and when they get to busting that money down,
it's no money.
It's not what it used to.
And so we're back to starving artists, literally, almost.
Well, you're starving if you don't know how to maximize your brand.
And most people don't know how to do that, right?
Right, but most artists, not most, but a lot of artists at least can perform well.
Okay.
So if I am able to help them understand that cash flow, and hopefully they can go on the road and not lose money, because touring is a business too. So we started off talking about how a tour or a show could look great and still be a loss.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that they go in after taking my class, they understand how to do a budget for a tour. They know how to route it properly. They know how to settle the shows properly with the ticketing services. They know how to manage relationships well with their internal crew, as well as the venues and other promoters that they'll be working with. So it's a whole language.
It's a language.
And I'm happy to be in position to help them learn.
Wow, this is amazing. Because I didn't know. You hear this, but to actually have a class to help teach people about it is amazing. Because again, we weren't talking like this even 5 years ago. Not at all. We just thought that people were artists, they got a record deal or whatever, and they was out here making this money, but it's not.
No, it's not. It's a tough living.
It's a tough living.
It just look real sexy.
It just looks sexy. Somebody got to teach us how to make the money. Go on, Richard. Where can people find you, sir? Where are you?
Man, I'm not hard
Because I
to
slid in
find.
the DM. I was like, hi, Richard.
Right. So everybody else can slide too, I guess.
I was like, hi, Craig Garrett said I should reach out.
Yeah.
How can people find you? Instagram, where you at? I'm
on all the platforms, but I probably pay more attention to Instagram. So I am Richard Dunn. Is my IG. So feel free to reach out.
Okay.
Richard Dunn on Facebook, but I don't play on there too often. Facebook is rough. That's like obituary.
It's
tough to be on there, but Instagram.
It's a whole thing. I'm gonna ask you this about the class. Can anyone sign up for your class, or you have to be a student
No,
of?
you have to be enrolled at Georgia State.
Okay, be enrolled in Georgia State to take your class.
Yeah.
Man.
But I guess I might need to build my
You
own.
might have to build know something? Because there's other people that are not as young that may want to learn more about the business, and just something to think about. Come on, man. Don't be stingy with the knowledge.
Damn, Michelle. Got me writing books.
No, yeah, you don't be stingy with the, because we just said we're never too old, right? Look, Killer Mike out here, other people out here, we're seasoned, and we're like, hey, how do I really get into this the right way? And I got to go to Georgia State to get that? That ain't right. Can I get a virtual? Can I get a master class?
I got you.
It might be a master class. You need to be bundled in the master class thing.
I might need to hire you to be my manager.
Yes! Go on, put me on. I love this. This was awesome. Thank you, Richard, for your time.
Thank you for having me.
This was amazing.
Good.
And I learned so much. I learned more things. There was just stuff that I had questions I didn't know. But I want to thank you for just continuing to be a gentleman.
Thank you.
It's just being a light in the community, right?
Appreciate it.
Helping everybody just get on and understand their path musically, strategically, about community, just business, entrepreneurs. And you sound well, too. Shouts out to your family. The education was just oozing out. You sound really, really well.
My old girls will be happy. I'm blessed to have both my grandmothers still. One is 95, one is 98. And they stay cussing. So I have to call them and tell them that you approve.
Yeah, you did good. You're a good guy. Listen, that's my time here. Listen, Real Chicks Rock, we're everywhere. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. Yeah, I know. I'm thinking about coming off of there. I don't know. We got the website, realchicksrock.com. Go out there, subscribe, because we do blogs and newsletters and things are happening over there. Listen, we're on YouTube. We got our own YouTube channel. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe, like, and share, because that's how we get this word out. This is good content. Don't be stingy and keep it to yourself. Share it to other people so they all know what's going on in the world of Real Chicks Rock. Listen, that's my time. But those of you that know, I loved and honored Frankie Crocker. He was on the radio on WVLS 107.5 up in New York when I was born and raised. And every time he ended his show, he would say this: may you live to be 100 and I live to be 100 minus a day. So I would never know that beautiful people like you had passed away. Until next time, take care, be well, and continue to rock on. Thank you for checking out Real Chicks Rock Presents Real Discussions. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next show.